Straight from the Geneva Motor Show, just a short while ago, Tata Motors unveiled its e-Vision concept sedan, the H5X and the 45X at the Geneva Motor Show. The company was also, remember, in the news after market regulator SEBI pulled them up, asking them to conduct an internal probe into the leakage of price-sensitive financial information about the company on WhatsApp. To discuss all those developments, we're now joined by none other than the MD and CEO of the company, Guenter Butschek, live from the Geneva Motor Show. Guenter, thanks very much for joining us here on India Business Hour Plus. I must say you're looking quite dapper in your Tata Motors jacket, standing alongside your new car that you've unveiled today. Talking about the new car, Guenter, because now it's becoming very clear that electric mobility will be central to your overall strategy going forward. I'm curious to know, how are you reacting to the government's move to do a U-turn and saying that now the government will eschew a clear policy as far as electric vehicles are concerned? Does that mean Tata Motors will have to now relook at their EV plans?
It's not changing our plan at all. As I've already mentioned in the beginning, we do support the government's vision to get all electric by 2030. Yes, we acknowledge it was in the initial stage just a vision, but I think it was an important message made and given by the government, because it had really triggered a thought process. From my point of view, and the way I felt some 1.5 weeks ago, when the news got launched that the government is going to move away from an EV policy, by the way, roughly a couple of days, a week after we got the EV policy from Maharashtra, which we did appreciate because that was the right stimulus in order to really make electric vehicle a talking point for the ones who consider to buy vehicles in the near future. I was surprised to hear it, and honestly speaking, from my point of view, it's something that needs to be rethought for a very simple reason. If there's no clear message on electrification, it's not that much a question, is the automotive industry motivated to bring battery electric solutions? It's more a question, is the private sector ready to invest in the creation of the infrastructure required in order to move India to electric mobility? Because just saying...
Well, Guenter, yeah, sorry for interrupting there, but important comments coming in there. You're saying that the government must do a rethink as far as the stance on EVs are concerned. But are you then saying that industry needs to have a clear EV policy to make the kind of big investments, EV mobility will require, especially in the form of infrastructure? Is that what you're saying?
That's at least my view. I know that I'm not entirely alone with this kind of view. But due to the fact that there were many more voices after the government's decision who appreciated the decision of the government to move away from an EV policy and to let the whole thing with the competition and subject to technical solutions, meeting the regulatory environment as it is emission norms, as it is about the CAFE norms, so the fleet consumption as of 2022, 2023, I think the larger industry really requires a higher degree of certainty that electric mobility is a prioritized target of the Indian government in order to motivate and to encourage the private sector to commit the necessary investments. Because an electric vehicle as such is not going to change India. An electric vehicle in the context of a sufficient level of density as far as the infrastructure, the charging infrastructure is concerned, this is going to bring electricity into reality of India's mobility.
Well, thanks for those comments there, Guenter. Important clarifications there. But also, if I would like you to react to the news that just come in a short while back about SEBI's announcement today, asking Tata Motors to do an internal probe within 3 months on leakage of information. What are your thoughts on this, Guenter?
Since you anyway know it already, yes, we have been approached by SEBI on a particular incident which was already in 2016 related to the third quarter results 2015. We have asked to provide certain answers. These answers have been shared, and at this point of time we have nothing else to add.
All right, Guenter, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that. We've completely run out of time. But if I could just squeeze in one last question, Guenter, before we let you go, because at the Geneva Motor Show, the overarching theme seems to be this this looming trade war between US and Europe. How will that impact Tata Motors?
I think first of all, this announcement is a relative fresh one. We are still in the process to identify what the potential impact could be. The impact is certainly going to be twofold. On the one hand side, it could impact the raw material side, as far as steel imports, for example, are concerned, which could have a major impact not only on India, but I think on the steel market globally, which could really change all of our previously taken assumption for the upcoming fiscal year to a large extent. But it's still too early in order to draw a final conclusion what it could effectively mean or what it is going to mean. So therefore, we are very carefully monitoring the further developments. We are in consistent exchange with the ones who are monitoring the situation as well. And we will flexibly respond to whatever kind of counter actions might be required. The other one is the car export. For us at Tata Motors standalone, where we are predominantly playing the domestic market, as well as some international markets, but we do not play in North America. We are not that much impacted. That this could have a detrimental impact on Jaguar Land Rover. It's a different subject, but it's the same subject as long as nothing has been formally decided. We are all in the phase of guessing, evaluating different scenarios, and far too early to draw any conclusion as far as the impact on the business is concerned.
Guenter Butschek, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much for joining us this evening from Geneva Motor Show. That was Guenter Butschek.